Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sunyoung Jang. I'm an associate professor of Hanseo University of South Korea. I'm very glad to present you. Today, I'd like to talk to you about subjectivity on industrial accident. The Article 2, Clause 1 of the Industrial Safety and Health Act defines an industrial accident as a worker is killed, injured, or gets sick by structures, facilities, raw material, gas, steam, and dust related to work, or operation or other workers. In this case, both material aspects and personal aspects of workers has been considered so that the range is wide. However, when writing the statistics of industrial accident, it is usually counted as causing personal injury for the administrative expense, so that only this case is called industrial accident. As the core manpower occupying the biggest part of healthcare side, with the most contact with subject, the nurses should provide a safe and high-quality nursing to subjects within limited time in the rapidly changing healthcare environment. When dealing with subjects in nursing side, the subjectivity of perception has lots of effects on their nursing. Thus, it is important to understand the perception targeting the nurses and pre-service nurses. There are no researches on industrial accident targeting nursing students as a method originated from accident perspective instead of researchers' hypothesis for understanding the characteristics of each type according to human subjectivity structures. The Q methodology, considering the subjective of subject, is a suitable research method for verifying the type of nursing student's perception of industrial accident, as the nursing student's perception of industrial accident is the subjective and unique experience of subject. Thus, this study aimed to provide the basic data necessary for developing the differentiated educational program according to the characteristics of each type of perception of industrial accident, targeting the pre-service nursing before entering the nursing sites where the industrial accidents are successfully performed by understanding the subjectivity structure of industrial accident is in the perspective of nursing students. The objective of research. The objectives of this research study are to provide the basic data for presenting the strategies for the education of nursing students, and also to provide the information about nursing students dealing with industrial accident patients by examining the type of subjective perception of industrial accident and the characteristic of the type, targeting the students of nursing department by applying the Q methodology. The concrete research objective for this as follows. The nursing students' subjective perception of industrial accidents is categorized. The characteristics of each type of nursing student perception of industrial accident are analyzed and described. This is study method. In order to achieve the objectivities of this study, after considering the literature media data and preceding research on industrial accident, subjectivity showing the type of subjectivity perception of industrial accident is discovered targeting the nursing students who have experienced industrial accident. To extract the comprehensive statements about the effects of industrial accidents, focusing on currently enrolled students of nursing department, the Q population were drawn through the process like consideration of domestic foreign relevant literature, open-ended questionnaire, and review in-depth interview. By drawing about 200 Q population through those processes and then targeting the collected literature through the consideration of domestic foreign relative literature, about 100 Q population were finally extracted. After going through the procedure of reviewing and modifying the extraction Q population, this study final 34 samples with high discrimination were selected. This is sampling method. As the p-sample, this study selected total 17 nursing students who voluntarily agreed to participate in this study after fully explaining the objectives of this study to them. This is slide show Q classification process and method. 17 nursing students, the time for each participant to complete Q classification was from 35 to 50 minutes on the average. Data analysis was performed via corner-based program and Q factor analysis utilized the principal components factor analysis. The mean and the standard deviation of components were analyzed utilizing SPSS Win 2021 program. This is the result. The result of analyzing the subjectivity of industrial accident by using PC corner program, there were total 3 factors, which explain 52.98% of total variance, such as factor 1, factor 2, and factor 3. As the factor 1 shows 37.75% explanatory power, it could be regarded as factor that explain the industrial accident of the most. Among the whole 17 research subjects, there were 6 subjects belong to the factor 4, subjects belong to the factor 2, and 7 subjects belong to the factor 3. The type of subjectivity of industrial accident produced by this type analysis method could be presented as follows. First, social environment improvement request type. In the characteristic of type 1, the subjectives through that it would be necessary to improve the overall social gaze at industrial accidents and the relevant social support policies and systems. They viewed that it could be rare to be recognized as an industrial accident as the standards for recognition of industrial accident was too high, and there should be the system for preventing or researching industrial accident in evidence. They also thought that the workers suffering from industrial accidents should be reduced through this social surveillance system, and the industrial accidents would be grow into the social problem in the future without the social improvement. Second, employer responsibility type. In the characteristic of the type 2, the subjects perceive that the biggest cause of the occurrence of industrial accidents would be employees' responsibility, such as management of industrial site, employee perception, and improvement of working environment. They said that the disease caused by industrial accident could get worsened by psychological figure and underlying disease, so in order to prevent this, the employer should thoroughly manage the environment and also low frequency of exposure through rotation worker if possible. The third type is cause removal type. The type 3 focuses on the cause for industrial accident. They said that the physiological fatigue or long working hour would increase the occurrence rate of industrial accident, and it would be needed to reduce the occurrence of industrial accident by underlying the causes and also the establishing the management system for harmful environments. They are negative on the option, saying that they would be occurring in general natural environment and also against the through in which they would be occurring more in people related to physician labor. This is a discussion. In the result of this study, the type of subjectivity of industrial accidents perceived by nursing students were divided into type 1, social improvement request type, type 2, employer responsibility type, and type 3, cause removal type. And this study aimed to discuss the characteristics of each type. The research on the subjectivity would be helpful for changing the perception of industrial accident in our society. Moreover, this study could be used as the basic data for development of a differentiated education program by presenting the subjectivity structure of nursing students' perception of industrial accident as a pre-service healthcare provider and the characteristic of each type. However, this study only targeted the university and it did not consider the factors have effects on the perception of industrial accident when selecting the subjectives, so that it is limited to generalize the result of this study. Thus, it would be necessary for follow-up research to additionally verifying the type of composing the Q sample with the various background. This is conclusion. This study aimed to establish the basic data necessary for presenting the changing in the perception of industrial accident and direction of approaching the nurse for nursing through the subjective data analyzed by exploring the nursing students' subjective perception of industrial accident by applying Q methodology. The result of this study it was provided into total 3 factors: the type of industrial accident perceived by nursing students was social improvement request type, employer responsibility type, and cause removal type. This study has provided the basic data for establish the measure for the improvement of attitude and perception industrial accident for the future by categorizing the nursing students' subjective of industrial accident. As this study analyzed the type of perception of industrial accident and also verified the characteristic targeting the nursing students, it is expected to see the development of educational program considering the characteristic of each type. The study also suggested additional research on the analysis of type after selecting the sample, considering various factors and qualitative research for verifying various factors have effects on nursing the subject on the industrial accident. Thank you for this is reference. Thank you for listening. Thank you very much for your attention. Now I'd like to open it up to question. Thank you.